In this crazy world, we have flat earther and Bitcoin maximalist. In this video, I will debunk every misinformation spread by Bitcoin maximalists that you don't have the time to do your own research, and so you believe them, because crypto, it's complex. Spoiler alert, after this video, you will not be able to look at the crypto ecosystem in the same way. So drop this video if you want to live the dream. I'm Base Toshi, and welcome to Base Science. Let's dig into the new church in town.
No es un delito.
A church who earn money thanks to the complexity of finance and the complexity of crypto, the Bitcoin maximalists. The first red flag in the Bitcoin community is that now it's full of podcast alpha male and stuff like this.
So you should start buying your Bitcoin right now.
But let's go to the aperitif about the misleading information that Bitcoin maximalists spread to the internet. Bitcoin is a deflationary asset. No, at all. Bitcoin has its own inflation, aka security budget to pay miners, and it's halved every 4 years. So currently, the inflation of Bitcoin is a yearly 1.7%. And now, miners are rewarded by 6.3 Bitcoin per block. 907 daily, 331,000 per year, which means that Bitcoin have a selling pressure by miners, about 30 billion per year. Bitcoin is the digital gold. Spoiler alert, no, nothing similar to gold at all. Gold value is not just based on scarcity. Gold value is based for industrial usage like dentistry, computer parts, data transferring cables, medicine, real estate, space vehicles, and obviously jewelry also. And its value is driven by the demand for all of these use cases against the supply. Bitcoin don't, actually. If you believe in the gold theory, I think that maybe Ethereum is more similar to gold, because people use Ethereum to run dApps. But that's another story. The blockchain of Bitcoin is immutable. No, every blockchain technology is mutable if miners and the hash power decide to roll back the chain, or even if they do an attack. But Bitcoin maximalists started to push these things very hard after the DAO hack in the Ethereum community that was like, Ethereum was just released, in mining theory it was so centralized at the time, and so they decided to do a rollback, because they were able to do it. But Bitcoin still had several rollbacks. So reorganization in blockchain is normal. And actually in Bitcoin, it can happen now, especially because two mining companies, they held more than 51% of the hash power. That scares. But after this aperitif, let's go to something more technical. Decentralization. Bitcoin decentralization is another dogma because Bitcoin is not more decentralized than some other projects. Let me show an example. There was a lot of FUD from Bitcoin maximalists about Ethereum and OFAC compliance validator, which is, this is the number. And remember, in Ethereum people can be anon by validating it because it doesn't require a lot of computational power. This is the situation in Bitcoin. Imagine if tomorrow the United States of America, they go to these two companies and they ask to only do OFAC compliance transactions. What do you think will happen? And also in Bitcoin, censoring transactions is not a new thing. Bitcoin is leaderless. No, it's not. There is a group of developers, which is 80% from one company, and this company is Blockstream. Also, the founder of Blockstream is the guy who constantly tried to solve this Bitcoin as gold theory, and it's preventing the development of Bitcoin to be competitive in the market to sell their liquid layer 2. And fun fact, Adam Block from Blockstream have more power into the Bitcoin development than even Vitalik on the Ethereum development. Because remember, there is a policy in Bitcoin development which is retrocompatibility. So every update should be retrocompatible with the oldest version. And so miners can choose what version they want to mine. But remember that this is a human policy, it's not hard-coded. On the other side, Ethereum run a multi-client system. So this means there is no only one client to run Ethereum. And this let Ethereum be way more decentralized in their governance than Bitcoin, which there is only one client. Bitcoin is a trustless store of value. So let's start by one thing. Bitcoin is not able to run a virtual machine. So this means that every transaction which happens with the Bitcoin token is from centralized exchanges, only via custodians. And 99% of the trading volume of Bitcoin is hosted by Tether and from shady companies like Binance, who already get caught for market manipulation and terrorism was trading. What's the real difference between Bitcoin and fiat money if we need a centralized company to trade it? Look at Ethereum and the whole DeFi ecosystem, which you don't require any custodian or a centralized authority to trade it. And you can swap it for whenever token you want, for stable coins, for JPEGs. This sounds more like a decentralized and trusted store of value. But let's go forward. Another interesting approach about Bitcoin Maximalist is to talk more about Ethereum than Bitcoin and to spread a lot of misinformation about Ethereum especially. It's a correlation between religion versus science in the Middle Age till now. The narrative of Bitcoin is in the hand of alpha man podcasters and this kind of people who don't have technological skills, and when there is a problem, they just don't talk about this, just avoid the argument. On the other hand, Ethereum community and development is full of
developers.
and economists. And in this community, every time there is a problem, every time there is a possible attack, it's not hidden. People just talk about this. And you know what? Bitcoin Maximalists, even if they still have the same problems, they use these conversations to attack Ethereum, since Ethereum came into the market. Let's go to the best claims of Bitcoin Maximalists. Ethereum is centralized by proof of stake. Proof of stake has a lot of new challenges. That's correct, but Ethereum economic incentives and disincentives based on the tokens and not in energy consumption and hardware, it solves a lot of hidden and not debated problem of the proof of work of Bitcoin. So for example, let's talk about anonymity. Proof of work requires a lot of computational power and energy. Miners now, they have a lot of computers, a lot of mining farms. They are very big. So it's pretty much difficult to be anonymous on mining Bitcoin. And this also means that if countries, they want to regulate what transaction will go into a block or whatever, it will not so difficult to do it. Ethereum introduced a social consensus and finality. So this means that to really attack the chain, you don't just require 51%. Because look at Bitcoin now. You see only two entities, they have more than 51%, and that's a problem. But in Ethereum, it's a bit more complex. Let's try to create an example of an attack on the Ethereum chain. Someone wants to change the history of the chain. With 33% of the stake, the network will reject this fork, and the attackers and the validator connected to the forked version, they will be slashed. If the attacker held 33 to 66% of the stake, the attacker can't finalize the chain. So yeah, he created the fork, and at the end of the day, the attackers, they just stay in their dead chain, slashing others, but in a dead chains, and they got slashed in the real chain. With more than 66%, an attacker can stall the network for a long period of time. They simply refusing to vote for the finality. They basically can cause the network to don't be able to finalize blocks, but they will be slashed for this, step by step, and so they just remove the stake until they lose their 66% position, and normal validators, they can just validate the finality. This let Ethereum be way more secure and decentralized than just a 51% attacking the hash power. It's way more complicated, I know. Ethereum nodes are impossible to sync. That's a classic. That's the classic for Bitcoin maximalists. First of all, before you say something, this is the number of Ethereum nodes, and this is the number of Bitcoin nodes. Okay, let's go forward. Bitcoin maxis, in over 6 years, they didn't understood that Ethereum have different node types. When they refer to how slow is a node to sync on Ethereum, they refer to an archive node. To understand what is an archive node, Ethereum is a bit more complex than Bitcoin. Ethereum has a virtual machine, so instead of just saving transaction, it's saving also the state, and the state changes. In an archive node, but you are saving also all of the state changes since Ethereum exists. And this is just required to run a website like Etherscan, where people can easily go and watch a full list of important information about every transaction, smart contract usage, and so on, which doesn't even exist in Bitcoin. In fact, to be a validator, you just need to run a full node that maintains the transaction history and the last version of the state. But you can also, with a full node, verify an old version of the state. And Ethereum also have light nodes, which is like a futuristic approach, still in development. Run a node with a very little hardware, for example a smartphone, so you can be a validator, but you can verify the important data for you. That's my favorite. DeFi on Bitcoin. Every 2 or 3 years in the space, Bitcoiners start to shield the DeFi on Bitcoin.
Okay, boomer.
That's not correct. Bitcoin can't run a virtual machine. So this means that every time someone shield you DeFi on Bitcoin, you have to remember that on Bitcoin network you can only save data. You can't run application and you don't have a state. So this means that the application is run outside from the Bitcoin network.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Let's use an example. A very common usage of Ethereum is farming. So you basically stake your tokens and receive a reward. And that's very secure on the Ethereum network because thanks to the Ethereum virtual machine, the smart contract is there. Nobody will ever force you to don't use it. You will be able to use it whenever you want, so your money are safe. DeFi on Bitcoins means that, okay, your position of farming is saved on the Bitcoin blockchain, but the application who runs this farming contract, it's from outside. And so this means that if the outside guy or company or whatever, they stop providing you the code, you have this data on the Bitcoin blockchain, but you can't withdraw your money. That's the funniest one. Bitcoin is more scarce than Ethereum because Ethereum don't have a supply cap. Right now, the inflation of Ethereum looks like this, because Ethereum implemented a system that basically every time people want to make transaction, they actually burn Ethereum. And thanks to switching from the proof of work to the proof of stake, the issuance, so the inflation of Ethereum, it's way less than the one needed to maintain a proof of work, which is a very expensive security system. But let's take a deep dive into the 21 million cap. This is the major dogma of the Bitcoin maximalist church. Every time you talk with a Bitcoin maximalist, they take the 21 million supply as a secure dogma, like written in the stone that nobody can change it. And that's not correct at all. That's real religion versus science. Bitcoin consensus can change that. Actually, if the consensus will run an algorithm would change the inflation, yes, they can.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
So Bitcoiners, they can say, for me, is very unlikely to happen, and that can be correct. But selling Bitcoin as this is impossible, that's real bullshit. And also, there is another consideration to make.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
To run Bitcoin, you need huge expenditure in hardware and electricity. And these expenditures are off-chain. This means that there is no rationale to calculate how the 4 years halving is realistically sustainable to maintain the network security. Because the inflation of the Bitcoin is the way the Bitcoin network pay miner. What if the miner rewards will be less than expenses? Yeah, a lot of miners go out from the network. The network became more insecure. the hash power go down, and the hash power go down the next halving, and the hash power go down the next halving.
Until
It's very cheap to make an attack. I know, it sounds crazy because Bitcoin they never talk about problems. Blockchain security and economy is an ongoing challenge. Different projects, they try different ways to secure the network. And the only problem of Bitcoin is that people don't talk about the challenges. They just want to sell you that it is the most secure network in the world and is the more scarce network in the world. And that's a huge red flag, because now the Bitcoin community is full of people who don't really understand Bitcoin because they just were sold by these alpha mans. But they sold them a dream, not what really Bitcoin is. See you next time.